everybody, Z Garcia here. In this video, I'm going to be comparing the new printing of the Lord of the Rings collectible game here for the Reiner Knizia Classic, the Anniversary Edition, this new printing, to my own edition. This is not quite the first printing of it, but this is almost 20 years old now, about 20 years old, okay? So this is my printing of it now. I've already reviewed this one. I had some issues with it, and a lot of that was the production of this. These games are mechanically identical. So I'm not going to be worrying about telling you which mechanism I like better in one or the other. I'm going to be doing basically a simultaneous unboxing here. We're going to look at these two products side by side, and hopefully that's enough information for you to make up your own mind. My mind is made up. I think the previous edition that I'll make sure I keep on this side for the entire video is much superior to the new printing, except for a couple of little things, okay? So what do you say we get to it? All right, so the boxes are basically the same size. They're using largely the same imagery. The new one, to me, looks a little more washed out. It's got that sort of left in the sun look a little bit, but it's minor. They both, they look good. I like this cover quite a bit. So let's get to it, okay? We're going to pop the lid on this guy, put that aside, and we'll pop the lid on this guy and put that aside. So we've got in here a rule book. This one comes with a rule book. Lots of illustrations in there showing off everything, as you can see there. That's the new edition. The previous edition is a large format rule book. It's a lot more, a lot brighter. There's a lot more sort of just white on the pages. I like the legibility of that a little bit more. It also comes with this standalone rules summary, as you can see here. And it includes this little Hall of Fame sheet that I've never written on. Feels a little bit strange to do so. But you can, it's a single-sided thing. You can write your score, the date when you played, how well you did, okay? So I like that the older one includes those two extra pieces of literature in there. So we'll set this aside, and we'll keep on digging into it. The boards, this game has two kinds of boards. It's sort of like the travel board in which you have an adventure, and then the master board. The master board for the new one is this right here. It's quite large. It's as large as a normal board, and this is what the artwork looks like. The previous one, I have to pop a couple of these larger boards out of the way because it sits in here. It's this one right here. It's a little thinner, as you can tell. And it uses basically the same artwork, but these spaces are a lot smaller. They have that gradient filled into them. This one kind of does that too with the red and going into this gray. I like the font usage on this previous one a little bit more, and I think the legibility is a little higher. This one feels a little darker. The printing feels a little bit darker. You'll see that sort of throughout the entire thing. I will also mention I happen to own an expansion for this. And in that expansion, you get two stickers to add to this master board. One right here for Bree, and one right here for Isengard. Ignore that. This is the only place where you'll see something that isn't in this original box. I've removed all the expansion contents from in there. So I like the previous one better. There's no need for the board to be bigger than this. It just stays on the table the entire time. And this one feels a little bit like a waste of space to me, especially with these gigantic spaces. They don't need to be that big. All right, so there we go. We're going to set that aside, and we're going to dig into the boards themselves. So let's go ahead and find this one here. This is the first one you'll be tackling, Moria. This is what the new one looks like. Let me see. There we go. So as you can tell, you'll see all the symbology that you'll find. You'll see the banks over here of effects. These are the things that are going to happen to you. There you go. All right. Now we've got the new one right here, or rather the old one, I'm sorry, right here. Same artwork, as you can tell. And then the iconography, the symbols being used throughout it, okay? There's also here all of the effects, which you have right over here. I like the way these are written out in the original one a little bit more. I think, again, the legibility is a little bit better. They're using the space more effectively. They're spreading them out to give you a little more breathing room in there. And I also just like the symbology a little bit more, okay? These new symbols, especially this traveling one, okay? Let's take a look at that traveling one. You see in the previous one, this is the travel symbol right here. Little hobbit feet walking, right? And then you've got the other symbols for fighting, is that one right there. I think this one's for hiding, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go. They're very nice. They're like full pieces of artwork that are simple and shrunk down, but they do feel like entire pieces of artwork. The new one goes with a much more sort of iconography-based look. You have the shield here. This one is very similar. And then this one up here, I cannot get over the fact that it kind of looks like clip art. I don't like the way that looks. It looks a little pixelated to me, okay? So there you go. That's how that looks. You flip this over. You're going to have another board for Helm's Deep on each side. The writing at the top is also very beautiful in this one. Large font, fully colored, and I like the look of that quite a bit. But again, same artwork used on both. So there we go. Let's go ahead and put the boards aside. There's one more board, but I think you got it. I'm not going to show you both of them. Then we get to the inside of the boxes. As you can tell right away, the previous edition, or this edition, has an insert, a very lovely insert, this nice deep green. The new one has this cardboard insert, which is pretty standard operating procedure these days. Not a big deal. Just, again, showing these side by side so you can see what's being made right now as compared to maybe 20 years ago, right? Okay, so let's dig into some of these components, and I'm just going to be comparing what's what from one edition to the other one. These tokens right here in this bag are the things you use to mark where you are on those tracks I just showed you on the main board, and this one is for the timer down the side, the events that happen down the side, right? The counterpart to these things I'm storing down here, and they are these lovely wooden cones. These sit on the board, and you can move them along and track what's happening. They're very easy to see on the table. Obviously, they're very large wooden cones, and they pop. They're a nice sort of off-white color. These are painted. It's not natural wood. They do have a finish on them, okay? So there you go. The timer one simply uses another one of these. It's another thing you're tracking, so it uses the same thing there. So there is that. Let's keep going. We're going to take a look here at the... this is sort of the currency or the victory points that players are collecting. They come in 3 different kinds. 1s, 2s, and 3s. We have here 1s, 2s, and 3s from the new one. And then we have 1s, 2s, and 3s from the previous one. Now, at the beginning of the game, you are supposed to remove a few of these and set them aside. You earn those as you complete those quest boards. In the new one, they colored a few you're supposed to set aside, which is a nice touch. Okay, these, if they have the golden symbol, the golden rune, those are the ones you're supposed to set aside, and you earn them at certain intervals in the game. Okay? In the previous one, they just told you to separate 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s, and shuffle them and set them aside. So this is a nice touch. It's a very minor thing, but it's a nice touch. Still, I like the artwork of the previous edition much more. It's a larger token, as you can see. It's brighter. It's a little cleaner. They both have a plain back, but this one does have sort of a stone texture on both sides, and this one is just very simple line artwork there, as you can see. Okay, again, I like the previous one a little bit more here. And the edges on this one, even though these are square corners, I don't know what it is, the edges on these tokens are really sharp, like bothersome to grab a handful of, okay? So there you go. Now, let's take a look at one thing I do think the new one gets the nod in, and that is the miniatures, okay? The minis, these are the hobbits that the players are going to be representing. You've got here, these are the ones from the new one, and the previous ones, as you can tell, are these in these spaces, okay? So I'll grab one of each and show you what they look like. The new ones are a little bit harder plastic. They're obviously more modern miniatures. Maybe the yellow isn't the best example there. Let's put Frodo back. Let's grab this one instead, okay? So there you go. They're very different, really. Now, the previous ones do feel like probably the cheapest thing in this box. And I do have one that's broken. It's always been broken, actually. It was like this when I bought it. It's missing a piece right there. He's missing his staff and his hands. And the new ones are fine. They're small, but they are fine. They don't feel like particularly good plastic. They just feel like good plastic compared to these. Okay? So there you go. These are better. However, the piece that represents Sauron is this piece right here in the new game, which is, again, it's not Sauron. It's one of the riders. And in the previous one, it was this ceramic piece. Yeah, this is ceramic. It's some sort of, you can tell from the bottom actually there. Perhaps you can see the air bubbles from where it is sanded. And it is painted. Okay? It's a very nice piece. It's lovely. It feels hefty. It's got some weight to it. This one does not. It's very sharp plastic. It's a good mold, certainly. But the plastic feels just okay. And this looks great on that board, by the way. Moving on that board. Let me see if I can grab it again out here and bring it in. Where are you at, board? Where did I put it? There it is. Alright, so the idea here is this is going to sit on this board, hopefully nowhere near the beginning of the board there, but back here somewhere. And it'll sit on there and move towards the players as the threat increases. And it just looks great on here, right? This idea of having, you know, the hobbits having this darkness moving towards them makes an impression. It looks great on the table. So there you go. That's what that looks like, and those are the minis. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few more things, okay? The tokens that you are going to be revealing to take actions are these tokens. In the new one, they are fairly small. They have that busy look again with sort of, I'll find the one that I think is the biggest offender here is this one. So as you can tell, there's not a lot of color here that pops, and it is that Hobbit outline with sort of a drop shadow around it, and then that gray with a little texture, and then the golden sort of coppery texture on the outside. Lots going on in this token, which is fairly small. The previous ones, I'll find one of them, the same one, in fact. This is all what they all look like, and this is the equivalent of this. So it's a much larger token, as you can see. Yes, it's a little bit simpler, a little bit cleaner. It's even a little bit thinner, just a little bit. But they hold up quite well. I haven't had any trouble with them. They're easier to shuffle, for sure. Definitely I can just sort of shuffle these and stack them up. A big stack of these doesn't work so well. They're a little too small for that. And they are clean. I can, at a glance from across the room, I can tell what this is supposed to be. You know, what's going to trigger. These, not so much, okay? So there are those. The ring and the die are right here. So this is the ring from the new one. It's supposed to sit around the hobbits. I guess it's supposed to do this, actually, and it sort of holds it there, which is nice. It stays put. It's a nice idea. The ring itself is sort of a similar plastic. It's got a little bit of flash on it right there. It feels about the same as the rest of this plastic. It's okay. The previous one is this one right here, which has a metallic finish on it. It has some writing on it, and it's a lot more impressive. It feels more important than this does. And I know that seems like a silly thing. I'm talking about game bits here, but it does make a difference. It's also got its own little space right there where you're going to be storing it, all right? So there we go. Then the die, which is this one right here, I'm storing below this deck of cards. It is certainly nicer in the new one. The legibility is, again, it's sort of using a different design aesthetic here, but this is much nicer. It's plastic. It's got some, it's engraved and then inked inside those engravings, and then the previous one is a wooden die. There's a little light engraving as well, but this could certainly rub off if you're rolling this die, or maybe just rubbing it in your hands quite a bit, okay? So there you go. The die is better in the new ones. A little bit smaller, actually, but not a big deal. I like the new one quite a bit here. Very nice. So there you go. All right, what else have we got here? These life tokens, the ones you are collecting so that you don't have to step towards the darkness. Again, they look a little bit like clip art to me. You've got that one there for the sun, the ring, and life, which are those. And then in the previous one, they are right here. It's these tokens for you have the sun, heart, and ring tokens. Very easy to tell apart. Very nice. Larger than the previous ones by quite a bit. But yes, the cardboard is a little bit thinner. You probably cannot discern that, but it is a little bit thinner cardboard. Still, like I said, I haven't really had a problem with any of the bits in this. Okay, and then lastly, or almost lastly, we're going to be taking a look at the cards now, but before that, I do want to mention again the insert. The insert over here is very nice. I think I may have said that already, actually, so let's not worry about it too much. Okay, cards. This is a big one, okay? These are the cards in the new one, and there are two kinds of cards, by the way. So if you have a hand of cards, it might look something like this. All right. And there are brown cards and gray cards. They're very difficult to tell apart unless you have very good lighting. And then the index, meaning what the card means, is right here in the center mass of the cards. Okay? So that's what the new cards look like. The old cards look like this. They have the pips, the index, in all four corners, and they are either this gray or they are white. And you can very easily tell gray, white, white, gray, white, what you're looking at, okay? The symbols, of course, are also using the previous symbols, but these two cards are the equivalent of each other right here. Okay? So there you go. I like the white borders also, including on the back, are a little bit more forgiving of wear and tear, of course. So there's that. Now, these cards are linen finish. The new ones are. The previous ones are not. But the new cards do feel just a hair thinner. And then there's also the Hobbit cards themselves, which are these cards in the previous edition. Very bold colors on the outside. The Gandalf cards there, as well as a bunch of other special cards. In the new one, they are these. Here are your Gandalf cards. And again, I just find the printing of the text, like everything was sort of turned to bold, and then the printer was a little bit ink heavy anyway. So there you go. And then the characters themselves, these are the special cards for the different locations. Where are the characters? Is it these? Yeah, it's these. So here are the characters for the new one and the old one. All right, I'll put a couple of these side by side. So here's Sam in the new one and the old one. Here is Mary in the new one and the old one. As you can tell, the color, how you know which one your Hobbit is from the background of the picture, as opposed to the entirety of the frame over here. I like this much better. Obviously, it's a lot easier to see what's going on. So there you go. A little side-by-side comparison of all that. So that's it. I think I've shown you everything, or most everything, that should give you an idea of hopefully which one you like better. Not that it's that important, because this is very old and you're unlikely to be able to get this. But that's what the new one looks like. I am disappointed overall with the graphic design, especially of the new one, and just sort of the general look of everything. I think the component quality, okay, is for the most part pretty good. The cardboard is thicker. The cards are linen finished, which is not bad, right? Plastics are a little bit better, though I think these are serviceable, ultimately. They're not great. They're just a little bit better than this one. But the look of everything, there are so many browns and grays in this box, as opposed to this one, which is vibrant and lively and brings a sense of adventure to the table that really feels kind of lost in the new printing. All right. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context to my review. If you've seen that, if you haven't, you should probably go check that out. I would appreciate it. And just to, if you're curious about this, now you've seen them side by side. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and clean this mess up, Thanks for checking this out with me. I'm Z Garcia, and I'll see you on the next one.